Hello and welcome to another session. I'm Leah Kearns, your host here in this particular festival, and I've got our beautiful creator, Mel Ryan, with me today. Hey Mel, how's it going?
Great. Hey, goddess Leah. Hey, everyone. Hope everyone's doing really well. Very happy to be here.
We're so
Share all my
glad to have
knowledge.
you along. So glad. Now, you're one of our creators. You've been with us for quite a while and you've got a massive, extensive body of work. Really, today, I wanted to start getting into this a little bit more deeply, perhaps, than what we'd usually skirt around the surface level of. And I know that in this, we're going to come back to your background and your history and all the bits and pieces that you have that have brought you to this point. But the first question I want to start off with is, what was the most significant impact that you've experienced in your life that actually led you to see things from a whole new perspective? Can you share a little bit about that with us?
It's so interesting when when you pull it back to, your one or even two events. And I'm probably going to talk about two things because I think one leads to another so beautifully. But when I was, in high school, my mum was very ill for a long time. So she wasn't around. So I spent such a long time comparing myself, and it's all about, earth perspective, soul perspective, and what I kind of want to talk about today. And I spent so much of my life comparing myself to other people that had, mums, and, I didn't have and what they had. And so it was when I started really working with clients and I thought about it, and I thought, if I put everything up on a wall that a mum did, then I would have a massive, massive list of, one person would cover all of these things. And then when I went back to the list of what the list was, every single thing on that list had actually been covered in my life by a neighbor, a teacher, a friend, my dad, somebody else in that space. So I thought, wow, my earth perspective is that I've missed out on all of this, yet I haven't in any way, shape, or form. I just got it in lots and lots of different ways. So that opened my eyes up to seeing things from a whole bigger picture. It's like, I talk about, that above and the below. There's so much more information below. So, being a mum to me was such a massive part of my life. And when I had my daughter Danielle, I ended up having a cesarean, which again I go into, there's reasons why and all that stuff behind. And of course, it was me blocking that maternal energy from me again because there was trauma behind mothering and stuff. So I had Danielle, and then I was trying to breastfeed her, and I was really overwhelmed. And, there's people in my room and I couldn't get out of bed. And a nurse had come in and said, I do something called kinesiology. And so she came and did what is called a balance back then with me. And in 2 minutes, my daughter was fast asleep on my chest. And I felt completely different. And I was like, what is this? Like, how can you help me understand? She told me what I was feeling. It was bizarre. So it was getting to, there's a reason underneath why we're just not connected with ourselves. And so, then I, left, obviously I started studying kinesiology, and then I did that while I kept having kids. It was beautiful. And then when Danielle was 4.5, she had an asthma attack and she died. And it was horrendous, just the worst experience ever in my entire life. And then, and I'll come back to that in a sec, but, in the same year, and that's such a, I was beginning to trust, and, I'm connected and I can help people understand themselves. And then my child dies and I'm like, this is not okay. Like, I don't trust anything anymore. And then maybe a few months after that, there's no way I should have been pregnant. And I ended up pregnant with, my now daughter. So now we have 3 more kids, and then more. There's a story in that too. But so for me, the biggest moment in that was that I was never going to trust anything ever again. Like, just had zero trust in life, in the universe, in, the most, if I'm allowed to say, fucked over feeling, because you're so traumatized that something that bad could happen. And yet what I And then, of course, you just begin to, you just begin to exist again. It's like the world stops. It's like you get off at the station and the train still whiz past, and that's the world, and you're meant to get back on, but you don't. There's not one cell in your body that wants to get back on, but you kind of get dragged back on. But you're different. You never trust anything again, and then you end up pregnant, and you're like, what is the point of me trying to plan anything in my life? Because nothing goes the way I want it to go. And in that amazing space is when I started to discover that why am I trusting? Like, you can't trust. It's like when I make a plan, which is my earth perspective, I make a plan to how I want things to go. If it doesn't go my way, then I feel so disconnected from my life and everything. But that's because I only see it from my perspective. When I began to step back and then go, okay, again, I'm, when stuff happens as that traumatic and your child dies, and I say, I always will say there's a reason for everything. There's a reason behind it. There's a reason when we pull this apart, it will make sense. When it's so traumatic, we're not actually going to get to a reason that is good, which would be the community changed, my relationship with people changed. I felt more approachable, at times to people. Sometimes people were scared of me because you survived, people didn't know that you could even talk to you. That my relationship with my hubby changed, that so many things changed that you see that is positive. It's still never good enough. Like, that's not good enough, because earth is an emotional experience. And I think the hardest emotion to deal with is trauma and grief. It's like, and when, and we have the hierarchy on earth of what's the best to the worst. And of course, losing a child is like the worst of the worst of the worst. So it's like the ticket that the club that you never want to be part of, and that people are scared of you, yet at the same time can't believe that you survived that, and I can't believe that you survived that. But for me, it turned that awareness of me to look at things from a whole different perspective. It doesn't still mean that I think that's okay, but I look at it, and for me, it was the opposite. I could not trust anything on earth ever again. So then I'm like, well, what's the point of that? And it made me expand my awareness to the fact that there's a bigger picture and there's more to this. And when I looked at that, my trust actually went to, do you know what? I came here with a plan. There's a plan. I want to learn stuff about myself, and I want to then teach stuff about what I know to everybody else. And that's when I've done this 23 years, and I've started seeing people, and every client I have in here, we pull it apart to find the perspective that means is, what does that mean for you? So when we look at a life and it's like, well, why did you pick your parents? And if people can't answer why I picked my parents, why I picked my job, why I picked my partner, why this stuff happens to me, then we don't know ourselves enough to be able to support ourselves through life. Life just happens to us. And when life just happens to us, which is where I was, life happened to me, it's the most hard place to be, because you have no control over anything. And I know we don't control anything, but you feel like you're just tossed around, and you're just this victim of the next shit that goes wrong, and you only focus on things that are terrible. So when I had to deal in that really dark place, it was then coming back to going, all right, well, what does this mean? And then for me, it actually helped me connect with her, here, and to give me, to trust in there's a bigger picture. Like, there's more. Like, you would get signs, and I signs of like little fairies would be in the air, or the song would come on the radio, that it was hers, or someone would say something, or just so many signs that just have continuously happened, for so many years, that since she's gone. And then, you would sleep, or you would dream of her, and you'd feel like you were with her. And so for that, again, you knew there's more. And for me, that's the biggest thing, because it made me know, I know there's something more. I know we're a soul. I know that there's a bigger connection that we have than just the experience that we have on earth. And earth is an emotional experience. And the way our emotions throw us around, like going through the rapids, because we don't understand, it's like we're not even in a raft.
Mm.
So the more we can actually go, hey, but why would you pick that job? Why would you be a police person? It's because you've got to control stuff because of something that's gone on in your life. But again, when we answer that, well, this is because, she's depressed because her child died, massively, or they do something because their dad was an alcoholic or something. But when we go, well, what's under that? Now, the reason again is never good enough for me that, well, it was meant to happen, because it's too painful. But the under that, it's like, for me, it actually made me trust, because when you go through life and you go, I can't control anything. So I couldn't control the fact that my child died and then I've got another baby. I was like, it's not that I didn't want to love another child because it hurt too much.
Yep.
So when I was pregnant, I was so scared because I was like, I know I'm going to love this baby. And that is the most vulnerable space that you could be in. So again, because of that, all of that, it made me just go, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to try and control things, but I'm going to try and work out where it fits and what it means, because for this to happen, there must be a reason, and the more I've done that in my life, the more I've been able to help people do it in their life. And I promise there's not been a person that has not walked in this room that hasn't walked out and together we haven't gone, oh my God, that's amazing. That makes so much sense now. And it's, the beautiful part of what I do. And I'm so privileged to be able to pass this space on to giving people a different insight, because I come from that, it's a knowing, it's not a hope. It's just, I know, I 100% know that there's more, and that when we begin to find answers, because we have the answers, when we stop tuning into what we think someone else will fix and that hierarchy, and we come back to the beauty of letting us be part of our life, things begin to make sense that have never made sense. And so many of us live here without anything making sense, and are lost and alone, and live to get approval from other people, but it doesn't feel right when you get it, and so then you've got to try more and more. And so it comes back to that, what we want to love ourselves and connect with ourselves and like ourselves, because that's the point of us being here. And we do it through emotion. And we need to be able to like our life and understand why. Like, why did I pick my partner, not my partner's an ass? It's like, well, what am I learning and what are they learning, and how can I reconnect us to support each other instead of compete for love? We compete all the time for, love, and, we put each other down instead of going, well, hey, I know that you're working on being confident. So instead of me putting you down to prove that I know stuff, I'm going to support you and help you feel. I'm going to change the way I word things, because not only do I understand me now, I'm going to understand you. And it makes real relationships. And that's everything I do. It's where I come from. But that's a big question.
Thank you for sharing that, because there's so many pieces in that just are really important, I feel like, for us as a society and as a collective of humans to begin to appreciate. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I'm hearing you say and what I'm understanding in that, the sense of why and the understanding of why gives you that sense of safety, gives you that sense of being able to receive support for the bigger life, the bigger picture that you're actually leading as a whole, rather than feeling as though this one piece in time is not working for you.
Yeah, it's like you're going, somewhere with no map and no direction. The understanding of why, I think, gives us peace in it. When we step back and we have a why, and it's like, why did I pick my family? Why did I pick to be the middle child? Why did I pick, this job that I do? Why, did I pick this house I live in? Why did I pick my partner? And then I'm like, oh, of course I would do that. I get what I'm learning. That makes sense. Now, my ability to support me through life, because I get me, absolutely completely different. It's like, why do I react when you say something to me? And even as a parent, it's like, why am I overprotective? So it's then, oh, okay, I need to understand that because I'm, that fear of losing another child, of course, biggest fear we have is losing a child. When you lose a child, the biggest fear you still have is losing a child. That doesn't change. But it's knowing that you have that, you can then adjust your behavior so all my kids aren't wrapped in cotton wool, locked in a cupboard, because potentially that could have happened. But it's adjusting by understanding ourselves. So the more we get that to the bottom of that why, and the why is about us. The why isn't because, I talk about an exit interview in a couple of things I do. And the exit interview talks about, it's like people, events and things. And that's all outside of us. And that's nothing to do with me. Whereas when we be able to answer questions and they start to become about, this is why I do this. This is why I picked this. This is why I chose this job. This is why I live here. This is why this, it means that we become in our life. And that's, and we can then listen to us and we can then choose what we do next. And then we know why our relationships change. Because instead of me reacting to my parents or my mom or my partner or my friend, I'm like, oh, that's right. Feeling left out is a thing I do. Let me support myself in that space. And it gets more out of me and it allows me to make choices where my life can be happy. And that's the, I suppose the gift of having this beautiful insight that I want to be able to pass on to other people, because it really changes your life.
So using why really as a tool and as a cornerstone for that inner support, and being able to receive that inner support from yourself, from the higher perspective of being able to inform you, and then having that feedback loop with it, being able to not only be informed, but to then also inform the direction. Or if you feel like your entire life you felt like you're in the wrong career, or you're living in the wrong place, or you're not where you need to be, or something's just not feeling right for you, that it actually, it's almost like having that why and being able to use that inflection.
And it's so true. Yeah. And it brings us peace. And it's like, particularly being a mum, often we can think, we put our life on pause because we have kids. But if you're learning how to have a voice, it actually doesn't matter if you have kids, where you work, who your family was, who your partner is, unless we understand why we picked them, because it will come back to be about having a voice. So we don't pause our life. We just learn what we're learning in a different way. So, people come going, I don't know what I want to be in my life. I'm like, well, but you are being what you want to learn, but you're still being it, you're still learning it. Let's pull that apart and understand that a little bit, because even though we think you have to be something on earth, I should have a job or a career or a name or something. It's like, yeah, but you're still here learning exactly what you want to learn, and you've got a plan, and everything in your life means something. Let's understand that. Let's pull that apart a bit and see that pattern. Pardon me. And when people do that, their eyes open, they're like, this makes so much sense. This makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a really empowered place to live from.
Yeah. And so part of the festival then with us in this celebration of what you've created with this course, the handbook that you should have been born with. I just love that that's what it's all about, and that it's really going to make that essential difference for people in being able to have the me supporting me way of being with this, and being able to focus on you, but at the same time receiving that support from yourself, where, I don't know, I just find that way of being enables you to find strength that you didn't realize that you had before.
Oh, absolutely. And make sense of things. And when we have a stronger, happier, more connected version of us, and we present that to the world, that just changes all of our relationships. If I bring a happy version of me home that I know myself, I then stop trying to make you make me happy. That absolutely changes a relationship instantly.
Yeah.
So it's like the handbook you're meant to be born with, the truth, the rules, and the hints. And I love that, because it's like so simple little ways, and it's like cheating, but it comes back to the inside about us. But as we do that, we realize this just doesn't help us, it helps us in how we help other people, because we often help other people by fixing stuff for them, or taking their power away, or making decisions for them. And when you understand stuff from this way, it means you can support them and go, oh, I see what you're doing, I see what you're learning, I understand that.
Yeah.
As opposed to going, I'm frustrated because you're not doing life my way.
Yeah.
So again, it brings you peace because it gives you the soul perspective, not the earth perspective. And I think that's
Awesome.
such a beautiful place to live from.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it, and I'm really excited to just see, how much this helps people. Just so blessed to be able to do this.
Congratulations, it's wonderful, and I'm so pleased that we've had you along as a creator with us, and all that you've shared in this festival also. I think that it just adds an extra dimension to understand the work a little bit better, and to really help people to show that being able to pause and ask the why questions and turn into that inner support that is always there. And if you're looking to work with Mel, all the details for being able to do that down below. And of course, Mel has some special offers for the festival, but also just the brilliant work that she's offering through this. We look forward to sharing more with you, Mel, soon. And thank you so much again for coming along and sharing so openly with us. I really appreciate it.
Beautiful. I just love you, and I love what we do, and I am really proud to be part of this community. So, enjoy the rest of the festival, everyone, and, good luck.
Thanks, you. Thanks, Mel. And I'm Leah Kearns, and I'm the host here with the festival, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session.
There is another story that probably will fit right in to help, consolidate looking at things from a whole new perspective, and particularly in, going through explaining my journey on really building trust, and that's trust in the universe compared to trust in the plan that I make for my life. And so continuing the story, it was after Danielle died, and before she died, my husband worked for a company, and his boss, the boss's wife, was friends with me, and we all had kids together at the same time. So she had a daughter, I had a daughter, I had a son, she had a daughter. And then, I had the other two kids. We went to kinder, we were friends, all that kind of stuff. And then years later, the dad unfortunately got ill and he passed away. And so I started in my clinic. I had my clinic then, and I started seeing the eldest daughter for emotional support. And the minute I touched her in that space, it was the most bizarre feeling. I got this feeling that she becomes my child. Like my child, she's not right now, but it feels like she becomes my child. And I had a session with her. I didn't mention that to her, but I came home and I mentioned it to Paul, or my hubby, and it was really interesting because he looked at me and he said, I actually think you're right. And I didn't do anything with that. It was just a passing comment. And then the mum got cancer, and we worked through that for a couple of years, and then she was in remission, and then she got cancer again. And unfortunately, she'd not been well for a little while, but no one could find anything. And so they finally went in and did, some exploratory surgery to work it out. And they basically opened her up and shut her and said, we're really sorry, but you have advanced cancer and it's terminal. And it was amazing because that day I was at home and I'd actually poured a champagne, and it was a Friday, and I picked the champagne up and I put it down and I said to my hubby, I need to go to the girls' house. Just like that. And as I got to the girls' house, they had a phone call that was saying that this is what had been going on. So from there, all our lives were turned upside down. Anyway, we we I became, you know, a support person for the girls. And in the end, our family decided, because we knew that the, you know, the mum wasn't going to make it, and that the girls would be by themselves, you know, we just knew, like, it was something that I can't explain, but you just knew that this was all going to happen. So, you know, even the kids, like, we had to chat to the kids are like, yeah, of course, they're our sisters, like, you know, this is happening. And so I moved into the girls for a while, and, you know, we looked after the mum at home. And I remember, you know, it was an amazing day. Like, I'd walked past these pictures of the girls, you know, on telephones, you know, kinder pictures, and I'd walked past them many times and thought, that's cute, that's cute, that's cute. And this particular day I walked past them, and my feeling went from, you know, that's cute, to, oh my God, that's my child. And I can't explain that to anyone apart from, it's like a miracle that somehow something's rearranged, that my emotional connection went from, that's a cute little kid that you see, to, you know, when you look at a photo of your child, you know it's your child. It was that, it's knowing, it's just knowing. And from that moment, it was just amazing. And, you know, so we spent many hours, mum and I, talking about, you know, the things that you would say on your wedding day, and the things that you would say when, you know, they have their first child, and on special events. And, you know, I would say to her all the things that I want her to tell my child. And, you know, that's in heaven, because obviously we knew that she was going to pass away. And if I watched that in a movie, it would be the most traumatizing, snot crying moment in a movie that I would not cope with at all. Yet here we are, night after night, on a bed, just talking about these beautiful stories of what we want to say. It was just phenomenal. I can't explain that. And then obviously she got worse, and her illness progressed, and, you know, we ended up, you know, in palliative care in a hospital. And she had friends that came and stayed with her as well. So the girls moved in to our house now. And then, you know, we kind of just juggled, and, you know, we went to see her, you know, every day, and, you know, stayed here and all of that kind of stuff. But it was, you know, it was really hard for them. And um, I remember the very last day, there's some pretty interesting things going on with, you know, a couple of people that were worried the role that we were going to play in the girl's life, you know, and if it wasn't from the purest space. And, you know, and we're all, you know, we're in a really heightened emotional space at that time. Anyway, they're all in a meeting. And I remember, you know, we'd gone in, and they've got a meeting going on with a couple of people. And I walked in, and I grabbed the mum's hand, and I pulled both hands around her hand, and I said to her, come on, baby girl, let's do this. And it was that exact moment that she took her last breath. And I swear to you. And I was like, oh my God. And it was like the exchange, you know, of kids. And my baby girl is in reference to her, but is it in reference to my baby girl, or her baby girls, or even her? It just was like amazing moment. And and from that moment, you know, on earth, we became, you know, the kids family. And, you know, I became their mum. And obviously motherhood and being a mum is a massive part of my life. And, you know, it's that extension now. You know, this story is not a story I've actually ever shared, I don't think, with the world, because it's almost so amazing. It's, you know, it's unbelievable. And but for an example, from soul perspective to earth perspective, it's like, you know, we make plans in our life for all the things that we want, and then when it doesn't go the way we want, we get really upset. Yet it's like this plan of what happened in my life with, you know, my child passing away, to then gathering these two beautiful girls, you know, in our family, in our life, and, you know, part of us is a miracle. And that's like, there's a plan, but we get so caught up in wanting things to go our way that we miss, you know, we miss seeing how the beauty and the miracle in life, and how it is. So again, being my lesson on trust, and relaxing, looking at perspective, and all of that. um and I'm just laughing because one of the signs that I get when Danielle died was a little fairy that blows in the wind, the little fairies. And so as I'm saying this story, I look up out of my window and I promise there's a little fairy that's just literally just sitting outside my window dancing away. And I love that. I just, so again, for me, it's the knowing of, that there's more. And the more we connect into life from a soul perspective than our earth perspective, I think is where we're going to find so many more answers than we've had before. So these beautiful girls still and always will be part of our family. It was like instant, like it was a knowing for all of us, and a knowing for my hubby and our kids. And it's just a beautiful story that I want to share with you, because it consolidates that. And I know it's really personal, but it consolidates, the that there's perhaps a bigger picture than even we know. And we can relax into it, and maybe by trying to understand a little bit more, we get ourselves back. So yeah, that's just my little added bonus for you all. So thanks for listening.